simplify x plus 3 times the quantity x plus 2. This is more complicated than the expressions we've been looking at because we have a set of grouping symbols, and that adds to the mix. So here, the 3 in front of the parentheses is a multiplication. So we need to take 3 and multiply it by x plus 2. But we can't actually do what's in the parentheses because x and 2 aren't like terms. So it's impossible for us to add these quantities before we multiply. In this situation, we can get rid of the grouping symbols and simplify things by using the distributive property. Which we're going to talk about right now. If we have a number or a variable or some quantity that's being multiplied by a sum, order of operations would tell us to perform the addition first and then multiply. Now we know we can't do that in this situation, so we're going to use the distributive property, and the distributive property tells us that we can take the quantity on the outside and we can distribute it to both of the terms on the inside, meaning we can multiply it by both of those terms on the inside. So a times b is ab, and a times c is ac, and then we can take the sum of the result that we get. So order of operations would have us add first, because it's inside the grouping symbols, and then multiply. But the distributive property tells us we get the same answer if we multiply both of those terms first by a, and then we add them together. There are different ways that we can use the distributive property. It also works if we have a difference. If we have a times the quantity b minus c, we can still do the distributing to give us ab and ac, but we take the difference. So the subtraction sign is going to stay a subtraction in the answer. We can also distribute things from the right-hand side. If we have b plus c times d, it doesn't matter what order we're multiplying things in. The d being on the right doesn't make any real difference, so we can distribute that in, and so we get bd plus cd. And we can do the same thing even if there's more than 2 terms inside the parentheses. We will see examples of that later on, but right now I don't want to worry about that too much. So let's go back to our problem. In this problem, we have 3 times the quantity x plus 2. We can't do x plus 2 at first because we can't combine those. So here we are allowed to distribute that 3 out front. So the x and the addition are going to stay where they are. They're not affected by anything. The x is a whole different term. Now when we distribute the 3 times x gives us 3x, plus when we distribute the 3 times 2 gives us 6. So when we apply the distributive property, we get 3x plus 6, and then also that x that we originally started with. Now that the parentheses are gone, we are in a position where we can combine like terms. X is the same as 1x, and 1x plus 3x is 4x. So we have 4x plus 6, and that is our final answer.